And so, yeah, welcome, Roger. Thank you very much for joining us. And I guess it's over to you, my good man.
Well, thanks, Ben, and thanks everybody for joining. Yeah, as Ben said, I'm going to take you through a few things this morning. We're going to have a quick look about some of the things that we're seeing in the market. So I've got some of the industry research, and I've also got some stats from our own business that I'll share with you. When we've had a look at the market, I'm going to talk to you about print analytics and talk to you about how you can engage to use Intuitive to get short-term revenue growth, but how you can also use Intuitive to sell more solutions to your customers. And you know, our business has doubled this year, which is really, really good. But that, if you think about that in the market that we're operating in, it's pretty incredible. And I'll share some of the things that have made that work. And then towards the end, there's a few things that we're putting in place to try and make things easy for you. So we'll go through those. And then, as I said, take you through any questions. So let's dive in and have a look at some of the things that are going in the market. So these figures here are from Quocirca, and there's two things. One is really what's happened in the last year, what's going to happen coming out of COVID. And I don't think it's any surprise to anybody that people are expecting to see an acceleration of volume declines, and just accelerated a trend which was already there. They're also talking about the analytics market, and again, why that's important and why it's growing. Now, it's very, very easy to look at these stats from analysts and say, well, that's fine, but what does it look in real life? So I'm going to share with you some real life information that we've got that we collate from across our customer base. So first of all, we're going to have a look at the total market. So this is us, our analysts, us analysing our own data. And what this is showing every year, every month compared to the same time the year before. So we're looking at March 2020 versus March 2019, April 2020 versus April 2019, and thereon. So everybody can see that March the 20th last year, so in 2 days' time, we will have been in the pandemic for a year, that there was this sudden fall off in volumes. And if we all remember that the world stopped, and it hit our industry massively. You know, we saw the market 70% down, and then we saw a gradual improvement over the summer months as the world started to unlock. And then there's a couple of things that are quite interesting for me. Is first of all, we had a second lockdown in October, and what was interesting was the decline from October. It didn't go back to the decline that we had in April and May. So people had got more used to working. The volumes came back very, very quickly towards the end of the year. And again, when we're now in our second long lockdown, and that's mirroring what we've had in October. So I think it's showing that people have adapted to different ways of working. And what that should show is that as we start to come out of lockdown in the next few months, that the market should bounce back and bounce back quite quickly. But it's really interesting if you start to look at this on a sector by sector basis. And I've just pulled a few different sectors out, mostly from the public sector because we've got a little bit more data there. But we have got private sector information as well. So let's go and have a look at a few different sectors. So the first is the healthcare market. So if you look at the healthcare market, a bit of a decline in general. So averaging out across the whole period about a 20% decline. Obviously, we had a big spike of infections at the start in April, and we had a big spike of infections in December and January. And that caused some demands, but only about a third down. So healthcare has been pretty resilient to the market. If we compare that to, say, education, you know, printing fell off the edge of a cliff, you know, over 90% down. even when students have started to come back, we're seeing big reductions in volumes. And we've looked at this. I would say the university subsector is worse than the schools and the colleges, but the trends are similar. And I think what's going to be interesting is in the education market, you know, as we've just had everybody really start to go back to school for the first time, we're starting to see universities starting to go back to on-campus learning. Is that going to take a return back to printing? Or actually, because there's been all of the investment and a lot of materials now being put online, will we stay more in an online world? My personal view is that I don't see education recovering to the levels it was. I still think this will be one of the ones that's more affected for the long term. But it's not all that kind of news. If we look at the emergency services market, you can see that at various times we've actually been printing more documents than we were. So in June, when everybody came out of lockdown, there was obviously a lot of activity and a lot of fines given. So you can see the impact here. And again, as we've gone into the second lockdown, with a lot of enforcement action. So this is, as an industry, has a completely different profile, and we're seeing across the market lots and lots of different variations in different industries. Another great piece of research from Quocirca was they went out to the market and asked people about what do they see print demand looking like coming out of COVID into the future. And what struck me was a couple of things. Was in overall terms, it's more negative than it is positive, but within that, there are some pockets of real growth. So healthcare is expected to be printing a lot more. Government, retail. So though we've gone to a lot more online retail, online retail that has generated a huge demand in paper. Just out of interest, Ben, have we had any of the survey information back yet? Is there anything coming up from the polls?
No, we're just going to launch it now for you, Roger. So
Okay.
Launching the polls now, and we can start getting some votes in, guys. So you should have the polling information on the bottom of the screen where it said polls, or I'm not too sure how it comes up as a user point of view, but yeah, we've got it running now. So if you've got the questions on your screen or on your Zoom session, then please do start answering. And yeah, we're getting some answers in already, guys, which is great. So I've launched that now, Roger. Give it sort of 30 seconds or a minute, and we can give you some of the information.
Brilliant.
We've already had 10 people in, so that's great. We can discuss it on the fly if you want. I can show you what's actually happening. What we've got so far, in answer to the first question, which was what decline have you seen in your print business during the last year, an overwhelming majority is at 30 plus. We've got sort of around 17, 18, 20 people asking that. How do you see your print business recovering post-pandemic? Some positive stuff there as well, which is, well, slightly positive. We've got sort of a 45% on less than 75% of previous revenue, 43% on more than 3/4, and only 10% back to 100% worth of business. And we've also got some, which revenue streams do you see growing over the coming years? We've actually got 52% of the votes going to process automation. The next one is 29% going to ICT, and then ECM, but it seems as though sort of the majority is going towards process automation.
That's really interesting. So I think
73% of people have voted as well, Roger. So that's just to give you an idea.
Brilliant. So I think that's really interesting. So from what we're seeing from you guys is very, very similar to what we're seeing. And yes, there will be some variances there will be some variances in the different markets. So if you carry on, if those guys who haven't responded. Carry on
Yeah, I've
responding.
left it.
Have a look at
I've left it on, Roger.
Yeah.
So by all means, guys, if you want to do it, we'll stop it just before the demonstration, and then we can collate it because we've got another question for you at the end. So yeah, by all means, to answer if you haven't already, and we appreciate your input.
Okay, brilliant. Ben, can we take the poll off the screen?
Oh yes, of course. Bear with me 2 seconds. Right, I'm just going to do that. There you go.
Okay, so that is interesting. All of this has quite a big impact on us as a market. So what was interesting was that the research that this spread into asked another question, and it was what percentage of organizations think that they're going to have to change their business model as a result of what's happened. And 2/3 of the organizations said we're going to have to change. We're going to have to change what we do. And that is there's a few things in that. First of all, customers' requirements are changing. Customers are starting to move towards digitization. So we've got that to contend with. Secondly, you know, certainly been a big push to the cloud. We've seen that. We've seen that a year ago. We were very, very rarely asked about cloud deployments, and now we are. Now we're probably asked about it in 20 to 30% of all of our implementations, especially for those of you in the Papercut world with Hive coming up, and that's something we're working on at the moment. And then the last one, which I think is a major challenge, which is really you've had to invest and skill up in some of these new areas, A, because of customer demand, but B, because you know, if one revenue stream's declining, you've got to find other revenue streams to replace it. And I think that's a lot more complicated than people realize, because it's not just a case of, okay, we're going to get an ECM technology, or we're going to get we're investing in ICT. The way those systems are sold are sometimes different. Sometimes it's different people within an organization, and actually, certainly in the ICT space, there's been lots and lots of specialist companies that have grown up over the last 7 or 8 years, especially in the Microsoft space, and you know it's tough to compete with them. And I think one of the things that I've seen in the print industry, which I think has been a missed opportunity, is that you've got a wealth of information around customers and their business processes. And I think actually, if you start to use your print data, you've probably got an insight with your customers that will give you an edge over the competition. And what we're going to do is now spend a few minutes having a look at that. So I mentioned that our business has doubled this year. So what are a few of the things that we're seeing which are driving that? So a few things. First of all, volumes and business processes are changing, and that has really we've seen two things that have happened for us. One is a short-term demand, because organizations are wanting to look at where printing's happening. So we've seen in some of our customers, we've seen peak usage on devices increase, because people have been coming into the office to print. People might only be coming in for a short time. So one of our council customers, their HR department can only have 1/3 of the people in the office at any one time. They have 3 screens to do their jobs, and obviously they can't have 3 screens at home. So they were coming in and they were printing out papers so they could go and carry on working at home in batch mode. And all of a sudden there's a problem, because we've then got a lot of people in a small area. And probably longer term is the more significant demand. So You know, if you think about your customers, print volume was fairly static. It was showing a small but steady decline. And now what we're seeing is we're seeing volumes change, and we're seeing volumes change on a monthly basis, and that's going to carry on. And if they don't understand what those patterns of usage look like, how, when they come to refresh the contract, are they going to know what they need? And actually, again, with your existing customers, being able to start showing that information now puts you in a better position. So changing volumes, new business processes. The other thing that we've started to see lots of organizations was there was lots of obviously pandemic hit, lots and lots of printing at home. And we've just started to see coming out on the agenda over the last couple of months, increase around data leakage around home printing. So regulated industries, you know, where you're dealing with information with vulnerable people, financial services, and we've started to see people start to put more controls around printing and realizing it was a risk. And at the same time, more awareness around GDPR, and actually with people printing, actually, if they leave the organization, they have a right to have all their records deleted. How print is a big part of that. How can we track and make and ensure that that's happened? And then the other big area is that is driving our growth is it's really allowing you to identify opportunities to innovate, and we're going to go and have a look at that element of it now. So what does Intuitive deliver? So the first thing really is immediately from the customer, they're going to have easier access to information, and that's either them looking at it or you looking at it on their behalf. And you're going to be able to see where devices are over and underutilized very, very quickly. You're going to be able to see inefficient printing practices. You're going to be able to see change in usage. The big one for me, though, is you can start to identify manual business processes that can be automated. Another customer of ours, in fact, we've seen this in a few places. We've seen in certain areas increases in printed documents. And when we started to analyze why that happens, it's the world's moved online from a customer perspective, but quite often at the back end, the systems aren't there to do the processing. So because customers can't go into organizations, a lot more transactions over the web. But in a lot of those cases, that back end is being processed manually. And my background is from the ECM and process automation industry. And for me, a printed document was like the golden ticket, because if you think about what a printed document is a manual part of a business process. So if you can identify where those manual parts of the business processes are, then you can start to explore with your customer about how can you make that process more efficiently. And it's not about the cost of the printing, it's about the cost of the people doing the printing and what are they doing in terms of business process. Again, that's great, because that means there's a bigger, more costly problem, which means you can sell higher value solutions. The other one, which again we've started to see more of over the last year, is environmental analysis. It's something else that we build into the products. So from your point of view, what's Intuitive going to deliver? Certainly, the first thing it's going to do is it's going to allow you to differentiate with your customers. You know, the print market is very, very mature. Lots of products out there. We've got something that will, allow you to stand out. we've designed our product so that it's device based. As you know, we're very closely aligned with Papercut, so in the same way that they do, we don't charge for printers, we only charge for embedded devices, although we report on everything. And that means that our solutions will be relatively low cost, but will allow you to generate a lot of either intuitive revenue or additional revenue. But really, it's about getting you on this journey to sell more services. So let's give you a couple of examples. So couple of customer partner examples. One was a fairly small customer. Contract cost over 5 years about 40K. So the cost of the intuitive solution, and on top of that was just over £1,000. And what was the benefit? So the first thing was the benefit was that we managed to generate a cost saving of about 4 times what the cost of the intuitive solution was, and that is fairly typical. But I can hear you saying, hang on, Roger, why would we want to sell something that might give the customer saving in terms of revenue? Well, number one, customers are demanding it, but look at the upside. First of all, by adding some value to the customer, the contract didn't go out to tender, and the reseller got a direct reward of that business. So they retain the customer. But then, having saw the reporting, they then were spending lots and lots of time doing manual reporting, and the reseller was then able to sell another solution, which was 3 times the it was 3 times the revenue, and I think it was 5 times the margin that they'd lost with a solution around sales performance, and that is a very, very typical journey. Looking at a bigger customer, logistics company, lots of devices, large hundreds of £1,000s contract. Again, the intuitive cost was relatively small. So yes, same ratio, about 4 times the savings that we were quickly able to identify. But the big thing that we identified here was that all of the holiday forms were being printed manually, and yes, they were being printed in colour. But that whole holiday authorization process was manual. So documents were being printed, they were then being filled in by staff, they were then countersigned by a manager, scanned back in, and then entered into a system. And what that was a wonderful opportunity to automate. So again, what we did was replaced a low margin revenue with a far higher value revenue, delivering a lot more benefit to the customer. And then what that subsequently, it's not on the slide, is that started a journey to look at process automation in other areas. And my feeling is that there's probably £300,000 or £400,000 of additional revenue to get out of that customer in more process automation solutions. But I think it was the fact that the reseller was able to look at the print data, identify the problems that nobody had really picked up on, and go and talk to the customer about it, which really put them in first place. So I'm not going to go into huge depths on the software, but I just wanted to give you sort of a couple of quick examples of how you might engage with the software.
Just on this point as well, Roger, I thought I might mention that we have done, we've got a video, guys, of a full demonstration of the software and of a webinar we did previously. So I will pop that in the chat, just in case. I mean, obviously you're going to go through stuff now, Roger, but there's a full sort of 45-minute demo that we've done previously. So I'll bung that in the chat window, and we can send that out to everybody that's attended as well if they want a full demonstration, just as a side note.
Yeah, that would be good. There's also been, if you or Ellis could put into the chat that just as a starting demonstration for Papercut customers, there's a great video which I'm going to show you a process of looking at a cost analysis, so looking at organizational cost, departmental cost, and then looking at which users within the department are generating cost, and then what's their printing behavior. There's a longer version of it which will show that process in Papercut, and then show that same process intuitive, and it's a really good one to get started with the customers.
Brilliant. Yeah, we'll pop both of those in the chat for you, Roger. So Ellis, if you're all right to do that one on that side, and I'll bang the YouTube one in there.
Okay, so
yeah.
let's look at that use case that I talked about. So when you log into Intuitive, you don't need to run a report. The data's already there. So what can we see? We can see we've got 4 departments. We've got 2 departments which are larger cost. Now there is a report widget in Papercut that gets you that, but there's a lot of other information that you can't get. So we're looking at the total number of users. We're looking at the average cost per user. And then we've got breakdown of our print by application type and by various trends, color and mono, copying and printing. With everything you see in Intuitive, if you want to find out more information out, it's really, really simple. You just go and click on the chart that you want more information out, click on it, and it will give you more information. So with this dashboard, we've said we want to drive it by the department. So you'll see on this chart here, it says master, which means we're going to use this chart to drive the dashboard. So I want you to look at these figures here. 87 users, average cost of 19. If we go and look at the sales department, we can see that we've got 47 users, cost of 11. But if we look in operation, it's a small number of users, but it's a higher cost per user. So we probably want to go and look at the operations user, because that's more of an opportunity. So we go through, we have a quick look at the operations users. From here, we can see we're doing a lot of printing in PDF or docs. So let's go and have a look at the PDFs. So we'll make this chart a master. We'll click on PDF, and we're now filtering our dashboard by PDF. We can see our biggest user is Paul Taylor. So we're now going to have a quick look at Paul Taylor. First of all, you can see that his printing is not the same all the way through the business cycle. He's got peaks. And incidentally, he was printing in black and white. He's now printing in color. But we can go through now and look at all of Paul's print jobs, and we can start to analyze them by the size or the activity that he's doing, or even the job title, so we can see if there's things that have been printed out multiple times. So very quick way to analyze. You know, it's taken me 5 clicks to get from a company level view to a job level view, and it means we can quickly interpret that information. Or let's go and have a look at it from a device point of view. So what might we want to look at? You know, we might want to look at over and underutilized devices. So here's all our devices. We'll analyze a particular type of MFD. We can immediately see we've got some devices which have got fairly low usage on it, but we probably want to understand who's using that device before we decide to move it to another part of the organization. And what we can see here is that it's only being used for 5 people. It's not been used for a long period of time. We're probably safe to redeploy. And really interesting, when we do a lot of analysis of devices across customers, and I would say in most customer scenarios that we look at, somewhere around 10 to 15% of devices are completely overused against their rated throughput, and then you'll find lots of devices in organizations which are completely underutilized, and actually just being able to reconfigure them adds some value to the customer. But actually, especially as we move into digitization, we might want to go and look and see if we're doing some scanning. So let's go and have a look at scanning. And If we start to look at the scanning, we can see that a lot of the scanning is happening in one area. That might be a problem, but we can now go through and we can click and see the users who are doing that scanning. So we can start to analyze why that's happening and is there an opportunity to automate. Okay, so that's really starting to talk about the discovery side, and just to give you a little bit more sophisticated way of doing discovery, and this is something that we see lots of our partners starting to do, is actually using the Intuitive to do discovery on the fly. So what I'm going to do that by showing you building a component. So here's our data come out of Papercut, and what we're going to do is we're going to go and have a look at the data and see how we can analyze it. Just give me a second. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick, for example, we could pick our job title, and we could say, actually, we want to go and have a look at job title and analyze, and let's have a look at that. Let's have a look at how many times each particular job is being printed out. Now, lots and lots of information there. We probably don't want to look at everything. We probably just want to go and have a look at a smaller subset. So what I'm going to say is I want to look at the number of jobs in descending order, and I only want to look at the top 10. Okay, so these are the documents that have been printed out. We now want to understand why are they being printed out. So what we're going to do is we're going to build some analysis. So I'm going to say, when you click into a particular type of document, at the next level, we'll make this a grid actually. We want to go and have a look at the department, so which departments are printing those documents out, and the number of times. And then what I'm going to do is build a third level of analysis, and I'm going to say, when we've looked at the department, I want to go and have a look at the actual user. I want to look again at which users are printing out, and in fact, let's make it a grid and make it easier for you to see. So we're going to have a look at the user. We're going to have a look at, again, the number of times they're printing it out, and we're going to see what are they printed out. So we can see, we can start to see some big variations in people printing the same document out, but some are printing in color and some are not. And what we can now do is we can go up, we can pick any particular document, and we can just start to drill through and look at the pattern. So lots of our partners have begun to sell professional services and use Intuitive to start doing this kind of thing with customers.
Yeah, I was going to say, Roger, from a commercial aspect for everybody out there as well, there's two different models here that Roger's talking about. So the first model was the Papercut side of things, which is a custom built dashboard specifically for Papercut customers, which is an all-in-one bundled cost for per device cost, if you will, per device per year. And then this second one that Roger's going through now, the component builder, you can buy a designer license for it, or you can also contact us at SelectTech and we can provide the service of creating specific data for your specific dashboards or individual ones like Roger's talking about now, or we can obviously train you guys on how to do it depending on how it works. But there are two different commercial aspects to it. The first one was the Papercut side of things, which is an all-in-one sort of standard Papercut dashboard. And then if they want to go in to start building more intricate workflows or more specific workflows, then obviously SelectTech can provide that service for you, or we can train you on how to do it, but it is a separate cost, just as from a commercial side of things. Sorry, Roger.
No, thanks, Ben. So what we're seeing is what we're seeing from our partners. People are starting to sell the print dashboards. Once they've sold the print dashboards, they're not just really selling it as a better reporting solutions for customers. They're going in and starting to use the data to analyze it. Some of our partners are doing that from a just really service delivery and account management perspective. Some partners are charging customers, so they're selling little 3 or 4 data discovery exercises to go and do that with the individual customers. But then the important thing is you then get that data and you will spot opportunities to go and do more with the customers. So one of the things that we've been looking at our sales and where our sales have been coming from. And I think one of the important things is understanding about what works. So yes, you can go and sell Intuitive as a standalone or an add-on to customers. But the partners that have been really successful with are people who've been building it into their sales processes for their core business. So if we look at things like where you've got customers and contract renewals, we're seeing 60% plus attach rates for Intuitive, where it's been shown to a customer just prior to the renewal and then bolted into that contract renewal. So if you think about that, for showing the software, 60% of the customers that you show it to, based on what we're seeing with other people, will buy it and generate you some incremental revenue.
You'll see as well that we've started a process as well, Roger, but thanks to you guys, we've been working with Sean on our renewals team as well. And when she's doing the renewal side of things, she's sending out the information about Intuitive. So if you're ever receiving any Papercut renewal information from us about up and coming renewals for their maintenance and support, we're including the Intuitive information in there as well. And if you want access to that, then we can give that to you as one of our partners, if you see what I mean. So if you want to start doing that yourselves, get in touch with us and we'll be able to show you how we do it.
Yeah, but I think you're right, Ben, and it absolutely works, you know. And while business is down, while business is tough at the moment, this is a great way to get quick revenue. A little bit less with new business, yeah. Little bit less with new business, and but just under half are getting it. We're getting the customer buy it as part of the solution. The people are doing really well with it here. Is that people are going to showing to customer very early in the sales cycle, and starting to feeding it into the requirements that are coming out, which then allows them to differentiate their bids. And in terms of our volumes of orders, these bars are about right. So this year we're doing more contract renewals than new business. If I went back 12 months ago, these charts were probably the other way round. So it's very easy for me to stand here and say, well, that do it. What I wanted to do was I thought I'd share with you our sales growth over the last 6 quarters, and this is what our sales growth like, and this is showing the number of net new devices that we connect to on a quarter by quarter basis. So you can see that as we've gone out, as the market started to become aware of our product, we've really seen some growth. And what that is saying to me is that we've got a solution that is fit for purpose for our market, and that there is a customer demand. Because if we didn't have those two things, this curve wouldn't be going up at the rate that it's going up. And from what I can see, we were a couple of weeks before the end of the quarter, but our Q1 looks like it's going to grow again on the same curve. So from our point of view, we've got something, we think it works, we've got some evidence to back it up, but it's all about going back to the previous slide and really getting it embedded into your core sales processes. That's where we've seen the real success. So we've got a few things to help you. Sorry, Ben.
No, I was going to say some fantastic growth there, guys, and we're seeing the same from the intuitive product as well. So I was just going to answer a question on the fly for Stuart in the question and answer section. We do, I think you're going into it now, Roger, so I don't want to steal your thunder. But yes, we can make sure that you've got some sort of PowerPoint slides or marketing and sales collateral. We've got a lot of that, but that'll lead you nicely into the next bit, maybe, Roger.
Yeah. So if you're interested, speak to Ben and the team. They can give you access to the intuitive portal. So you come into our website, there is a partner portal button, you log in, and that will give you access to absolute everything. So click on this button here, it will take you to the demonstration that I've just shown you this morning, and you can go and interact with the software. There is a full learning hub. There is an online sales module which takes about 30 minutes, by the end of which you'll be able to demo the software. There's a technical foundation course which will take you through how to install the product with a Papercut customer. And at the end of that, you'll be able to install it on a customer site. Then there's a raft of marketing information, sales information, and technical information. So I've just, on this example here, I've just got the marketing information. So that there's sales presentations, there's videos, there's white paper, competitive positioning. You can download a copy of the software and try it and access all of our support materials. So that's there to get you going. Now, one of the things that I wanted to do was, as well as just making that information for partners that really want to embrace this as a strategy, we've set up an advanced reseller program. And there are some requirements, but there are some really good benefits involved with it. So what's really, talking through the requirements side, it's really about you getting skilled up and executing. So getting some people through the technical training and taking a copy of our software, installing it, and making sure that you're happy to do that. Getting some people through the sales training. And really what we want is, from that, is working with Ben and the team to put a plan together. So that might be really, it's really about a launch webinar. It might be putting stuff onto your website, making an announcement, and thinking around actually how are we going to sell the product and how are we going to embed it into those key processes that I talked on the previous slide. So new business, contract extensions, renewals, looking at who your key accounts are. So if you do that, there are a number of things that we do. So first of all, anybody who goes through that process, we have a branding. So we have our intuitive advanced reseller status. Anybody who is an advanced reseller, we market. So everything we sell is through partners. So if you become an advanced reseller, you will see Intuitive talk about you. You will see us use our marketing engine to promote you. You get unlimited NFR copies. Just see if I can get rid of that thing. Whoops. But the really big thing is we want you to build confidence in the product. So once you put your plan together, you'll get up to 50 devices, a 1-year license for up to 50 devices and up to 2 customers free of charge. So you can use that to go and find a couple of customers and try the software out. Or if you sell it, it's a reward from us to give you some additional margin because you made a commitment in training and engaging with Intuitive. We will, secondly, when you do that, you become successful. We repeat that, so you get 25 devices when you produce your first Intuitive case study. Again, that can be split over 1 or 2 customers. So again, just trying to reward you as an organization for doing the right things. And then there's two other things that we do for our advanced resellers. Because you've invested in the training, we've got some advanced training programs which will take you far more into things like branding the dashboards for customers. It will teach you more around using the tool as a discovery exercise, and how to integrate other data sources into Intuitive. We've just had a great example from a customer who's taken their print data and integrated it with their HR data. So they're now starting to analyze printing by job role. And the advanced technical training is really geared at allowing you to go and do that advanced discovery type stuff with the customers. And then we have heavily discounted software if you want to use it. So a lot of our partners have started to use the software internally to support their business, and it's something we want to support.
From me and the team at SelectTech and our resellers, Roger, thank you very much for joining us today, and we appreciate your time, guys. Have a wonderful rest of the day and rest of the week.